Hello, everybody. Let me see. First of all, I just want to make sure that everybody can hear me. So, if you guys don't mind, just let us know. So here's how you can let us know. First of all, there's a way for you to raise your hand, and usually that uh, does the trick. And another thing is, if you look at the bottom, there's a chat button. If you guys can click that and sort of tell us that you can hear us, or at least me for this point, and see both of us, that'll be great. And I, in the meantime, I'm gonna figure out how do I see you guys. Cool. So, dum 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 dum. All right, I can start seeing you guys coming up. Awesome. So, do you mind just letting us know, guys? All right. Hey, Michael. Good morning. All right, so we're good. All right, guys. So let's start with a little bit of housekeeping, just so you guys know how to work around this platform. So, like I said, at the bottom of the screen, you'll find a couple of things. One of them is the chat, where looks like Michael found it. You press on it. You can communicate between you guys. You can give us some feedback along the way. I'd really appreciate if you can leave the questions that you have to a different part. I'll show you in a second where, because that helps us look at the questions and kind of have a better track. Those of you who did webinars with me, I like to leave the questions till the end where we have Q&A rather than interrupt in the middle. So to the left of this chat, there's a couple of things. There's a polls button. There you'll have, a couple of questions that I like to know who we're talking to. Just honestly, basic question. If you have a chance, answer that. And then to the left of it is the Q&A section. Very easy. You go and type your questions there. At the end of it, we'll look at them and answer the questions. All right. So, how's everybody doing? How's everybody doing today? I'd love to sort of see like some response from people who are doing good. And tell you this, I'm doing really well this morning. First of all, I woke up, which is a good thing on its own. Second of all, my son was cooperative, so we got to school on time. I was able to make it here in time. And third, I'm doing this webinar, and which I'm very excited about, because for those of you who are new to my webinars, a little bit about myself and why I do that. My name is Boaz David. My company is called Human B, the letter B. And basically the idea for us as a company is to help you guys who's starting or building, or even if it just be the idea part of your fashion business. So my company, most of what we do here, the company is provides product services. So design, development, production. We handle the whole process for our customers. And then what I do more of is one-on-one consulting and really work one-on-one with someone in your situation, the owner, the designer, with one mission is really to get you to make your dream come true. I had my own line at some point, so I think I understand a lot of things that you guys are going through. And that's why I do this webinar. I try to provide you with tools, information, guests, whatever I can. So without further ado, let's get to today's subject. And if we're talking about feeling good, my guest today is Ricky Mendez, and his job is the coolest in my opinion, because he makes people feel good. He gets up in the morning, and that's what he does. Ricky, how are you?
Great, man. Thank you for having me.
All right, cool. So let's start, all right? So Ricky, can you sort of tell us shortly, if you can, what is it exactly that you do and how did you get to it?
Sure, yeah. So my arena is motivational speaking. I think motivation is just trash. I think it's garbage. I consider myself an implementational speaker. So I believe that when you implement on a small scale, that it creates the motivation rather than getting really motivated and excited and then never change in behavior. And people think they need to implement on this massive, grandiose scale, and they don't. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that people make is they try to look at scale and they don't look at lowering the bar to create the consistency to literally rewire your brain so you can take consistent action to the pursuit of your potential. So I deal more in the implementational space where we can create a habit that lasts over a lifetime, not for 30 days, not for 2 weeks, not for a month, not for 2 months. So that's kind of my arena, my space.
Cool. And how do you get to it? Because I think you started in something completely different, right?
Yeah, I oversaw about 7 offices in Southern California. I was basically a sales director for a home energy company. And we did a wellness event just because it was fun and it was something I was passionate about. And then a woman had confided in me in that event, and she said, I'm having these challenges with, my mornings and the kids and things like that. And she had a 3 and a 6-year-old. And I said, look, I don't know what that's like. I'm not married and I have kids. So I'm not going to pretend like I know what those challenges are like. But I did say, I do know how to change perception in my mind and how to train my mind to go to where I want it to go. So I said, try this. And I gave her something to implement, and she implemented it. And she said it changed their entire dynamic of her morning with her children, with her relationships. And it was like the best feeling I ever had. So I quit my job, very comfortable job, 10 days later, and dove into the world of full-fledged entrepreneurship.
That's awesome. That's super inspiring. So the reason why I wanted Ricky on our call, and first of all, I want to thank Ricky, because those of you who've been here in the first version of this webinar, it was sort of a technical disaster. So Ricky not only agreed to do it again, he also, he's in the West Coast. So for him, it's quite early in the morning, and he was willing to do this quite early in the morning. So I thank him. I hope all of you thank him. Cool. So the reason why I wanted him is I was in an event and Ricky was speaking there, and it talked to me. Like a lot of the things that he said resonate with me, sort of remind me a lot of things that I knew and forgot and things like that. And I thought, everybody that I know on as my audience can benefit from that, and that's why he's here. So Ricky, I'm gonna let you do your thing, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And I'll jump in when I can, and hopefully you can, inspire others like you inspired me.
Sure. Well, I think, so as entrepreneurs, especially in the fashion space or any space, what I chat about is so, in my opinion, it's blanketed where it applies to anything. It applies to people in the fashion industry, people in the sales industry, people in the real estate industry, people in the tech industry. So I can give you kind of some implementational things to implement today that are super easy that I feel can change perspective. So I think, in my opinion, I believe that probably the greatest skill on the planet, whether we're an entrepreneur, an employee, a business, whatever, is conversion of energy. Taking energy from negative to positive and doing that on a consistent basis, whether it's something that's really, really, really challenging or something that is kind of, mundane and just a little bit of a challenge. The scale doesn't matter. So I think when we can convert that energy from negative to positive, that helps everything. It helps our relationships, it helps our life, it helps our business, it helps our contribution to the world and to society and all these things. So conversion of energy, in my opinion, is probably the greatest skill that has helped facilitate a greater quality of life for me. So then the question is, okay, so how do we convert energy? And there's a number of ways to do this. In the time that we have, one of my favorite ways to convert energy is so very simple that is so often overlooked. And it's gratitude, simple gratitude. And I'm not talking about gratitude in terms of like thinking positively or, looking at the good side. I am talking about gratitude and using it as a tool to change your biochemical reactions, your biological reactions, your neurochemical reactions, everything. So everybody thinks energy is, physical. Energy isn't physical. It happens on the inside. It's biochemical. So when our cells are energetic, we are energetic. So how do we take that and apply it to our business? So I'll give you an example. Every single day since January 6th of 2016, I have woken up and I have read a gratitude poem. To me, the year that I did that, I made more money than I ever made. I had better relationships than I ever had. I had better health and fitness than I ever had. My contribution goals went through the roof. And to me, that's not a coincidence. So the day that everybody does this is coming up. So everybody thinks of gratitude or thankfulness on one day of the year, Thanksgiving, okay? And then after Thanksgiving, it stops. And I look at it as every day as Thanksgiving, and not just with the good stuff, not just with the easy stuff that's grateful for, but the challenges. So the way that I started with this, I looked at the thing that I couldn't stand the most, like my biggest pet peeve. And that was when I'm on a plane and I'm flying, I live in LA, if I'm going to New York or Miami or Boston on the East Coast, and I have a red-eye flight. I can sleep on a plane pretty easily. I get a neck pillow and I'm on the aisle. So I sleep like a baby. So I can pass out on a plane. And what drove me nuts was they dim the lights and you're ready to go to sleep, and then just a wailing baby goes off behind your ear. That used to drive me nuts, like to the point where I was like just upset. And I apologize in advance to anybody that has kids or anything, but I was like, somebody shut that baby up or I'm going to shut it up. Like that's the point of where I got worked up. And then when I learned about self-accountability, I was like, look, the baby isn't freaking me out or stressing me out. I'm stressing me out. And I converted it. So I literally wrote down, I am grateful, period, for the screaming baby on the plane because it means that I can hear. And I thought of all the people that don't have the sense of hearing. And I thought of all those people that would kill to hear the screaming baby. And here I am having a sense that is so valuable in my life that I'm taking for granted. And so then I started doing that a lot. And I said, I used to also hate doing dishes. I'm grateful for the dishes. I'm grateful, period, for the dishes that I have to clean and scrub because it means I have enough to eat. And it's something that we know that much of the world is in poverty and they don't have enough to eat. So I don't want to take that for granted. And to me, those are just two examples. And then that starts to develop the things that are easy to be grateful for, right? Like, so I'm super close with my family. I'm grateful for my mom, my dad, my sister, Ceci, because they teach me a great way to live and to love. So when we're grateful for the challenges, it changes perspective. And I always mention Viktor Frankl. To me, this is the absolute best lesson on perspective. One of my great mentors is Wayne Dyer. I never met him, but he's a mentor because I read his book and I learned a lot from it. And he said, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. I don't think there's a better definition of changing in perspective. Change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So I changed the way that I looked at this screaming baby on the plane. I completely changed the way I looked at it, and the thing that I looked at changed, because gratitude is so powerful that when we change our perspective, we actually change the event. And Viktor Frankl is, in my opinion, the strongest possible example of this. So if you don't know who he is, Viktor Frankl, look him up. He wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. So Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl was in Auschwitz. He was in a prison camp. And I believe it was his mother, his father, and his wife were burned alive. So just think about the most inhumane, unfathomable thing in human history, okay? The most inhumane, unfathomable thing, arguably in human history. And he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And he credits that book and the meaning and the search for meaning in his life to getting him out of the prison camp alive. And I always look at that when I start complaining about, excuse my language, but the bullshit that we complain about on an everyday basis. It's amazing. So I have a consulting business, a coaching business, I'm a speaker. So a lot of people come to me and they start complaining. They can tell me with excruciating detail of the crap that's going on in their life. However, they have a challenge to tell me of all the great things that they have going on in their life. And then the people tell me, look, you know what? Nothing's going good. And my response always to that is take two fingers, put them to your neckline and see if you feel that. You set a personal record for being alive today. I don't know where I heard that. It was probably a couple of years ago, but I love that. Like today, we all set a personal record for being alive. And I think that's awesome. And when we have these just fundamental things, then the other stuff starts to take on a different perspective. And the more that we practice this every single day, the universe will not reward scale, it'll reward consistency. So I say start with one line of a gratitude poem, okay? And do that every day. And when you start doing that, you start converting energy very quickly. Our brain is an organ, but it acts like a muscle. The more we use it, the better we get at it. Just like when we go to the gym. If we go to the gym, we start working out, we get stronger. Simple. Same thing with our brain. So if we do this every day, now we're going to get better at it. And now we can start converting energy quicker and quicker and quicker. So when we are in an entrepreneurial space, which can be extremely challenging, and it's not a matter of if the struggle is going to come, it's when the struggle is going to come. And now we can start looking at those struggles and challenges in a much different perspective. So as an entrepreneur, I always say, look, it depends on the questions that you ask. When the crap storm comes, it's not a matter of if, when that comes, and sometimes it comes in massive waves, people ask, why is this happening? Why did I start doing this? Why did I take this risk? Why do I have to go through this? They ask these terrible questions, okay? You ask those questions, you're gonna get a bad answer. Simple. Instead of asking an empowering question of, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? And how can I contribute from this? You dive down that rabbit hole, you start asking a different type of question, you get a different type of answer, which affects your brain, which affects your neurochemistry, which affects your biochemical reactions, your biological reactions. Now I'm having energy from the inside out. Now I'm creating empowerment from within so I can do the things that I need to do. People focus on the action all the time, and they don't focus on the thought that generates the emotional state that delivers that action. The thought will create the emotional state that will deliver the action, but we focus on the action without figuring what's gonna help that what's gonna come before that. Because it's intangible and we can't see it, so we don't focus on it, we don't work on it. But we do focus on the action, so we wonder why we're pissed off, frustrated, and falling short of our goals and achievement all the time. So conversion of energy is one thing, and I think what a lot of entrepreneurs do is they attach a sense of joy or a sense of happiness with the end goal. And I think that's something that I've learned from many mentors, and they all have different versions of saying it. And one is detach happiness from the outcome. You know, and one thing that I love to do, I haven't achieved everything that I know that I'm going to achieve, but one thing I am loving is my pursuit of that. So when we kind of marry ourselves to the pursuit and our potential and the little steps and the progress that we're making, now the outcome is there. I know where I want to go, but I'm obsessed with the process and improvement and progress. So one thing that we're so good at is saying that what the things that we suck about, right? We're so good at saying like, this didn't go well or that didn't go well. And I always usually start a seminar by tucking your shoulder in, just a little tuck, taking this hand and going like this twice. Just give yourself a little tap on the back, because we don't do that enough. So detaching happiness from the outcome, I forget where I heard it, but I love this analogy. It's like, look, whatever your goal is, whatever your greater later is, whether it's $100 million exit, whether it's, you know, making my first sale, whatever it is, scale is irrelevant, doesn't matter. If I told you that you were, you know, 100 no's away from achieving that goal, you would be excited at no number 1, and you would be excited at no number 60, and you would be really excited at no number 90, because you knew you were getting there. Yet we rarely get past the first 10 to 20 no's, because the negativity sets in, we cannot convert energy, we ask terrible questions, and we dive down a rabbit hole that doesn't serve us. So as we convert energy, have this awareness, work on it every day, ask better questions, now I can start to enjoy my pursuit. Now I can start to enjoy the progress that I'm making towards my potential. And that has made all the difference, not only for me, but the people that I consult with or a coach or whatever. And it's such a fun journey to see, because so few people are on it. You know, everyone says I want, especially now, entrepreneurship 10 years ago was like, you know, whatever. No one even knew what the word meant. Now everybody's like, I want to start my business. But they're starting their businesses without a mindset of enjoying it when the crap comes. When everything's going good, it's easy. Like it's easy. I'm selling stuff, I'm making stuff happen, I'm getting connections, everything's going good. Very easy to think positively, very easy to be positively. Anybody can do that. It's when the crap comes and how good I am at converting energy, that's what separates, in my opinion, the champions from everywhere else. So and that what develops persistence, you know. And another thing I would say is, man, people are scared to ask for help. And I think no one's going to do it by themselves. Anybody that you ask, anybody that you look at that has achieved, in my opinion, anything great in the world, they didn't do it by themselves. They asked for help. Okay. So, but we're also like, people are going to say no, people are going to judge me. It comes from weakness. It doesn't come from weakness. It comes from strength. So I literally this was one of my mentors told me to do this. He said, look, spend an hour a day, or start with 10 minutes, doesn't matter. Again, scale is irrelevant, but set some time aside for a day in each day and call it ask and attract. So now every single day I am asking for help. And the more I ask for help, the more success that I have. Now, people will also say anywhere from no. Some people may say hell no. But you know what? Some people will say yes. And whatever that response is to us is irrelevant. It does not matter. I know asking for help is a good positive energy, frequency, vibration, whatever we want to call it. I believe in energy, frequencies, vibration. That's how our cells operate from a biochemical level. So I know that asking for help raises my energy, frequency, vibration. So that is a good thing, regardless of what they tell me. They may say, heck yes, Ricky, I will help you. Here is, you know, some referrals or whatever. They may say, no, I think you're garbage. I never want to help you and I never will. Doesn't matter. I will continue to ask because it's service to myself, okay? So that's in terms of like when we look at entrepreneurship, these are so fundamental and so kind of basic. None of what I've mentioned is difficult. None of what I mentioned is really probably anything that people haven't heard before. It's just that we don't do it on a consistent basis. You know, success, it's not a knowledge problem. In today's world, we can Google whatever we want and we can find out what to do and how to do it. All we got to go is to go to the Google machine. Our challenge is we know what to do, we just don't do it on a consistent basis. Why? Because our mind, our most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force the world has ever known, works against us because we don't train it in a way that will serve us. So when I look at entrepreneurs, that's something that I kind of share a lot because I think it's something that I missed. I needed somebody to teach me this stuff. And then I said, look, who's where I want to go? Then do I respect them to have them coach me? Yes. And then that's just how I learned. Now I took some things that I liked from one person and other things I liked from another person and really started to kind of develop my own, what worked for me. But it's something that it takes that fundamental level of training our mind and how we look and perceive the world. And by the way, this helps with entrepreneurship. It helps with life, right? This helps with relationships. It helps with our spouses. It helps with our kids. It helps with every aspect of our life. It helps with the guy that gives us our coffee at Starbucks, everybody. So you start walking around with this kind of what I believe as an aura or an energy. People want to be around you because it's something that you have a skill or an awareness that a lot of people don't have. And then people start asking my two favorite questions. What are you doing and how are you doing it? Love those questions because I know that person now is going to become a sponge. And that means I get to honor my mentors because all they have ever asked for me is, Ricky, empower others to empower others to empower others. So that's a great way. I love that question because I know that's going to be one of my people. So that's kind of how I look at kind of persistence and entrepreneurship in general.
That's awesome. You probably guys saw me. I was just writing notes, even though a lot of things that you did, I heard, but you know, just it reminds you of so many things. And actually, I think one of the things that are very helpful is to hear that a lot. Like one of the things that I think I realized is, and I think you talked about it, Ricky, is that hearing it once, yeah, it affects you that day, affects you maybe, you know, a few hours, a month, whatever that is. But you sort of need to keep that in mind and implement things that are really, at the end of the day, remind you of these things. And so hearing these things all the time is amazing. A couple of things that I, you know, wanted to add and really, you know, a couple of questions I wanted to ask you. First of all, the book that Ricky recommended, I put the link to it in the chat. So anybody who wants to read it, I read it. I was telling Ricky when he gave his keynote speech, when I was listening to it, as he was mentioning the book, I went on Amazon and bought the book, and it was amazing. If there's anything in the world that puts things in perspective, it's what this guy who wrote the book and his story is. Unbelievable. Another thing that I want to say that that I think is very, again, changed perspective when we think about these things is, and again, Ricky said, and I really just want to make sure that you guys paid attention to it, because for me, it's one of the things that didn't click for a long time, is the fact that, you know, you hear these things and you're pumped and you feel like you want to climb the mountain today and, you know, be there in the top in an hour. And the reality is, you really have to start with something as little as you can, something that you feel that you can do in the next hour. And it could be, I don't know, killing a habit or putting whatever that is, just to get yourself in this momentum and sort of train yourself that you know, you're starting to climb this mountain. And again, from my experience, that helped me, because the more you do it, the more confidence you feel, the more trusting you get in the process. I guess that's the word. And you feel like, oh, I can do another step and I can climb a little bit more today, and it really helps. And the last thing, by the way, that I just want to recommend another book, because I think what Ricky mentioned about detachment is, as I don't know, Ricky, you might have read that book as well. It's by Deepak Chopra. It's the 7 Law of Success. And the 6th law talks about this, but it's a short book. Again, one of the things that I think worth reading. So that was just my 2 cents. And again, in a way, I think I said these things to remind myself as well. So let's see. Sharuz, the link to which book? The one from that Ricky mentioned, it's right there above your comment, but I will send it again. And I can also put the link to because I was looking for it as you guys were listening. This is the link to 7 Law of Success. All right, so anybody have any questions? I'd love to hear anything. If you guys want to come up and ask some questions, like talk, not just write it, that'd be amazing as well. I'll wait a second. Let's just see. Or even if you guys have any thoughts about what Ricky said, or, you know, if you guys, here's what I'd like to hear. If any of you sort of, it hit you in one way or another, what he just, you know, told us in the last 20 minutes or so, that'd be great to hear as well. We do have a question, Ricky. How do you recommend manifesting future success? I sometimes feel like it's wrong to ask for success. Very good point, actually, I think.
Okay. So I'm going to preface this by saying I ruffle some feathers sometime, and lucky for me, I stopped caring what people think of me a long time ago. So I would 1000% Taylor.
Yep.
If we don't ask, we're not going to get it. Okay. This goes for asking for help. We don't know if we don't ask, we can't get it. Okay. If we want success, we must ask for it. We must. It's a universal law. If we don't ask, we're not going to get it. But yet we all say we want success. Now, this doesn't mean it has to be an egotistical, I'm rich, I'm famous type thing. Success can be defined in any way that you want to define it. That's the beauty of it. Success can be taking your business and making a for-purpose business and taking a percentage of your revenue and donating it to a charity or something that will impact the world. But success in life must be asked for, because if we don't ask for it, we'll never get it. So I would invite you and encourage you and implore you to change perspective on that. That is something, to me, that's like saying, I'm hungry and I want to eat, but I don't want to ask for food. We must ask for success, and we can ask for it in many different ways. We can ask mentors. We can go to YouTube and Google things that empower our mind. We can ask for help in our business. We can ask for money to help start our business. Most millionaires and billionaires are not paying for these things. They're opening lines of credit. That's a form of asking for help. If you bought a car, if you bought a house, you have asked for help. You have asked for success. You have asked for the money, either you financed it or whatever. But to me, that's a mindset that is with this is why I love doing this, man. But to me, that's a mindset that's contradicting itself. I want to have success. I think everybody does on some level. And if you didn't want success, I don't think you'd be on a call like this. But if we want success, then manifesting it and asking for it is an absolute integral part of that. It's like saying, I'm at point A and I want to get to point B, but I don't want to ask to get there, or I don't believe I deserve it or can get there. So I think I would implore and beg of you and ask of you to change perspective on that. And so many things open up. So many things open up when we ask for success, because look, and it's not just about us. People talk about the why all the time. Look, I'm going to save you a lot of time. The why of what people want to do is to help somebody else, okay? So the more successful you are, the more you're going to be able to help somebody else, whether it be by sharing best practices, whether it be financial, whether it be with monetary goals, whatever. But you're going to be able to help somebody else the more you ask for success. That's the best feeling on the planet. Contribution and helping others is the most fulfilling feeling on the planet. So if we don't ask for that success, we can never help other people. So I thank you. I appreciate it. Sometimes I'm very adamant about the things that I say, and like I said, I ruffle feathers, and people tell me, F you, Ricky, and this and that. And that's okay. That's okay, because I'm gonna share what I believe. But I would literally write down, I am grateful for the opportunity to ask for success because it makes me feel great and help others. Like, just change that immediately. It's such an easy mindset thing to it's simple, may not be easy because it's new, but it's so simple that, look, you deserve it. Like, we all deserve it. I believe we are all humans that want to thrive and will thrive if we feed ourselves the right things. And what I mean by that is mentally. So, and that's just an unbelievable feeling. And I think life is too short to struggle, pay bills, and die. It's too short, man. So I look at that and look at the success, and yes, ask for it and know that you deserve it. You do. You absolutely deserve it.
That's awesome. First of all, I got to say, the passion from you when you say these things, even if you wouldn't have words, just by like your body language, how passionate about it, I think that's by itself says everything that we need to know about you and how really it's,
thank you.
How do you want to help people, and really what's the impact about it? All right, we have a couple of questions. So one of them, which I think is a great question, because I think that's actually one of the challenges that everybody faces. And there's no doubt, even if you guys hearing this and being inspired that will come up. And the question is, what do you do when you feel like you are having a bad day? How do you shift your mindset?
Great question. Simple answer. What am I complaining about? What is the challenge? What is the bad thing that's happening? Okay. What is that? And I'm going to search for what Napoleon Hill called the seed of equivalent benefit. I love that phrase. Now, the other phrases are silver lining, positive way, whatever. I love how Napoleon Hill phrased it. Seed of equivalent benefit. So whatever it is challenge that I'm having, what is the seed of equivalent benefit? What is the positive side of that? And he said, this is the guy who wrote the first self-development book ever. I'm not going to argue with the guy. I'm just going to listen to what he does, right? So if there's a seed, he said there's a seed of equivalent benefit to everything, everything. And it doesn't matter. I have done this with tragedy in life and done this with simple, easy things of getting in a car accident, okay? So whatever the challenge is, what is the seed of equivalent benefit? And then I'm going to dive down that rabbit hole of searching for the seed of equivalent benefit. So for example, let's see, Boaz, you tell me, what is a common challenge in your industry within fashion that people are starting their business that might apply? Give me something that I can.
No, it's a good question. I think, at least for me, and maybe that was one of the things that I struggled with, is you worked really hard on your line. You put it together at the beginning and you go and put it in front of people, okay? And the first person that you present it to either didn't respond, or, you know, his or her response was pretty much, I don't care, in a way.
Mhm.
And I know from myself, back then when I had my line, it's like someone took a hammer and hammer right on your confidence.
Yep.
So that, I think, is one of the biggest challenges.
Okay, so perfect. Okay, so you're working really hard. It didn't work out the way you want, quote unquote, a failure, right? If you learn and grow from something, it's not a failure. But what I want, I'm looking at my phone because the reason is I just posted this on Instagram today or the other day. And I believe when we look at things that we post, it's a message of your brand. What do you believe in? So as entrepreneurs building a brand, look at what you believe in and what is your signature story. That is massive in entrepreneurship. I can dive into that a little bit. But so I'm going to read you something. So Walt Disney was fired from his newspaper for lacking imagination and having no original ideas. Walt freaking Disney, okay? Oprah was demoted from her job as a news anchor because she wasn't fit for television. Oprah freaking Winfrey, okay? The Beatles, rejected by Decca Recording Studios, who said, we don't like their sound. They have no future in show business, okay? I can go on with these types of stories. Albert Einstein wasn't able to speak until he was almost 4 years old, and his teacher said he would never amount to much, okay? So as I'm going through failure number one, I know the seed of equivalent benefit is that people that have created greatness in their lives have failed so many times that there is a direct correlation between how many times I fail and how much I succeed. It's just a matter if I'm going to get past the 99% who quit after the first few failures. So what I mentioned before, how happy would you be if I told you you're 100 no's or failures away from your ultimate dream goal? You would be psyched at failure number 90. It's just part of the lineage and progress and process that you're on. That's it. So that gets me, when I think about all the failures, look, I was fired 3 times in a calendar year. A year and a half. 3 times. This is somebody who I've had massive success in sales. I started running different companies. They gave me the keys to the company. I was fired 3 times. I love talking about that failure because it's what allowed me to progress to what I'm doing today. In fact, my high school, I think they wrote it to the whole class, but they're like, please let us know what you're doing. We want to know, catch up with I graduated high school in '96. And they want to know what the successes are that I'm having. I'm writing them back and say, I fundamentally disagree with that. I will share the successes that I'm having, but I will only do that if I share the failures that I've had first, because we're so used to seeing everybody's successes, but we don't see the million failures that got there. So as I'm putting in all my work and it doesn't work out, the seed of equivalent benefit to that is that I'm on my journey to success when I have the right perspective.
That's awesome. The stories of people who we now adore or look at like heroes is unbelievable. Another one is Michael Jordan. When he was, I think, in high school, he was told that he's never going to be a good, or at least not even a basketball player. And we all know what happened to him. Cool. Another question. All right. So Michaela is asking sort of both of us, but I'll let you answer that. What is your mindset when you are looking for new clients, a form of asking for help? For example, I don't want to feel like I'm begging and don't want to feel like I'm you know, boosting either. How do each of you find the middle ground when asking people if they want to work with you?
Now, let me clarify, like asking somebody to buy your product or asking somebody to work in your company?
I think what she means is really sell your product to somebody and really, let's say, reach out to a store, reach out to someone that is
Okay.
going to be a prospective client.
Great. So number one thing is I ask for feedback. Number one, what do you like? More importantly, what do you not like and where can I improve? Okay. Get that feedback. So the first 9 months that I started my business, I didn't make any money. I did free events and I handed out evaluation cards. And I said, what do you like and what do you not like? I don't improve a whole lot with people telling me what they like.
True.
I improve drastically with people telling me what they don't like, because now I'm taking feedback, not from what I think is going to be beneficial, what my future clients are going to think is beneficial. Okay. That's number one. We want to collect that data. The more data that we have, now we have valued their opinion. And not only have we improved, but we can potentially go back to that client and say, hey, now what do you think about it? Keep adjusting it how what they think of what the world thinks is valuable and value proposition. And those are built-in clients, in my opinion. Secondarily, I think we should all have a signature story as an entrepreneur. And we are going to share why we do what we do. If anybody knows Simon Sinek, watch The Golden Circle with Simon Sinek. It's a YouTube thing. It's 18 minutes. It's absolute gold. And it's the reason why I became an entrepreneur and how I structured my mission statement, my vision statement, my passion line, everything. Something he doesn't really talk about, but what I love is my signature story, okay? So we're all entrepreneurs. We're all building this business. We want to have a signature story that we can share why we do what we do. And the reason is because people are going to love the empowerment that it gives them, and we will love the empowerment that gives us, okay? Give you an example. So I have a number of signature stories because I develop them all the time now. One of them is that screaming baby on the plane. Ultimately, why I love to get in this business is, I'm going to make this pretty short because we got about another 15 minutes, but there was a woman making $10 an hour on one of the first companies that I took over and was handed the keys to. Everybody hated me because I was the new guy. They were making a boatload of money and I was younger than most of them. And I came in and changed everything, right? I can't blame them. I'd hate me too. We're changing the culture. We're changing everything, to the point where my car got keyed in the parking lot and they told me to go F myself and they wouldn't shake my hand. I'm talking of that level of like, get the hell out of here, Ricky, right? There was a girl making $10 an hour and she bought in. She saw she was one of the few people that saw what we were trying to do. Making $10 an hour, grew up with her, I think it was her brother, her mom and her dad in the single room in Los Angeles, up in the valley, extremely poor, with rats in their room, okay? We started working together because I saw that she wanted a greater later. And I was like, that's my person. I can build with this person. And we started working on her prosperity plans. What I help people do, I help people develop their vision, mission statements, their passion line in business, but also their prosperity plan in life. So we started working on that. I said, what are some of your things? What do you want? Before we know the why, we need to know what we want, right? People don't know what we want. So we started working on what she wanted. And she said, I just want to be comfortable. And I say, that's absolute garbage. We weren't meant to be comfortable. We were meant to thrive. We're meant to be abundant. We're meant to be prosperous. So I said, okay, let's change that dynamic. And I said, well, do you ever want to own a house? Because she hadn't asked me this question. Everybody I coach, home ownership is number 1 or 2 on the list always. She didn't ask me that. And she said, well, I could never own a home. I was like, why? Well, nobody in my family has ever owned a house. I was like, well, why do you think that's possible? She was like, because no one's ever done it. I was like, well, do you think that doing something that no one ever has done is possible? We walked on the moon, right? So it's possible. Okay, that's the first thing, is understanding that's possible. So the short part version of this, probably too late for that, but probably about a few months ago, 3 years later, with me helping her, but also her helping me, she closed on the first home in her family lineage.
Wow.
And now she has 3 children that have their own room with her husband and the first person in her poor family that has now changed her family lineage to show what is freaking possible in the world. That I wake up every day and I feel like that is an impact that I help facilitate in the world. That is one of my signature stories and why I do what I do, because the residual impact of that feeling, we talk about residual income all the time, but that residual impact of the feeling that I get day in and day out of having to play a small part in her being able to change her family lineage, that is why I do what I do. And that is part of my signature story. So it's one of my many signature stories of why I do what I do. But my point is to what is yours? What part of your business helped somebody else? What part of your business is meant or intending to impact the world? What part of your business is meaning or intending to impact individuals, the community, the society? And then that you have one story, I'm sure we all do, and we want to share that story. So when we bring our product or service to somebody, number one, ask them for feedback. What do you like? What do you don't like? And then share your signature story of why you're doing what you're doing. That's two of the best ways that have helped me.
That's awesome. I'll add something to it is that for me, and I was telling this earlier to Ricky, sales was not my thing. I was, for whatever story, I had stories in my head about selling, and putting myself out there and selling myself was not something that I felt comfortable with. Until I realized two things. One of them is, well, I guess it's one thing. One of them is you want to be interested in the person that you see as prospective customer, meaning I think for a million years, everybody has the story in their head that if they want to sell, and I think that's what's my story, is that you need to go and push and, convince somebody to do something. The reality, that's not the case. Because if you'll be interested in that person and sort of what Ricky said, find out what they want, find out what they're looking for, get feedback from them, then you'll know they will tell you what they want from you. So the sell there is really a conversation. It's something that comes really natural, and it's not pushing. So, think about how do you get to this point, and really how do you basically make it about them rather than about you and your sales. So that's one thing. The other thing is, which I guess relate to it, what I realized is that, when we want to ask something, and I think that might relate to what Ricky said earlier, we want to ask something from somebody, again, many times we think about, oh, we need this, we want this, we need their help, or whatever it is. Think about it this way. Start thinking about it, what can I give this person? Because think about it this way. If someone gives you something, and it could be a compliment, it could be whatever that is, I bet you that you are going to want to do something for them. And that's how it works. So this is the two things that I thought of. Oh man, I got to tell you, I can have this conversation for about 16 hours, and I think you as well. Anybody has any questions? Because I have a few questions for you.
I would also share, Boaz, right after what you just said, that's exactly right. People think this is like an attack game. Sales, number one, without sales, you have no business. Okay, so it's the river of life for any entrepreneur. So we better learn how to embrace it and how to do it. Secondly, I share this a lot. It's not tell and attack, it's share and attract. Very different. Not tell and attack, it's share and attract. So when we're sharing things and asking for feedback, we're attracting people that want to do business with us, right? Rather than telling them what we have and saying, you need to, you need to, you need to. It's not tell and attack, it's share and attract. And that's a way to really kind of shift that perspective.
That's awesome. That's actually, I wrote it down. I wrote so many things. But I have a question for you. If anybody else have something, please, put it in a question or, but you know what, for a second, I think you deserve some feedback, because there is some feedback. Michael is saying, thank you both for getting this day off to a great start. What a great positive message and way to confirm and or reconfirm what I think and feel. So, enjoy it, Michael. And Taylor is saying, love that as well. So, you deserve that. I have a question for you, because I think a lot of it, our mindset comes from things that we trying to find the right word, I guess, inherited from our past, from how we grew up, from things that happened to us early in life, our family, our environment, things like that. So I'm just wondering, did you, and you said you're close with your family. So I wonder if that feeling or that seed that got you to where you are now, would that part of the family, something that you heard around, it sort of started there maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I would say my self-development journey, for me, it started when I read Jack Canfield's Chicken Soup for the Soul. Simple. I
I
remember
love,
what I remember what story I read. I remember where I was. I remember who was around me. I remember how it made me feel, and that was in high school. So, education, to me, education is how to use this. It's this simple. I think that's what I would love for them to teach in schools at some point.
true.
And that's how it started it for me. I'm the minority. I grew up in a good family. I grew up with a loving mother and father, right? And I'll never take that for granted. Now, a lot of people say, Ricky, I didn't grow up with that. My parents were divorced. My dad this. I was abused this. I was abused. That's the majority, right? So two things. Number one, that's your old conditioning and programming. If you want to keep it, that choice is yours. If you want to reprogram it, that choice is yours as well. So you can empower yourself to change that empowerment from you. And people ask me, do I have it harder because I grew up with this, or do I grow up with that, or do I have it yeah, okay. So you might, because there needs to be some more programming. So what? So now what are you going to do about it? Are we going to bitch and complain that I had it hard, or am I going to do the things that I need to do to start shifting things internally? And I can make the argument, like this again may ruffle some feathers. I can make the argument that it might be more challenging in the middle class because everybody says, be comfortable, stay comfortable, don't take risk, right? Where in poverty, you have to change. You have to, right? You're forced to, or you're going to stay in that for the rest of your life or end up dead. In the middle class, it's so easy to say, stay comfortable. I can't tell you how many times I hear, stay comfortable, don't take risks, don't take risks. And then we wake up, it's 50 years later, and nothing's changed. So I can make an argument that, that is sometimes more challenging because people are going to change through either inspiration or desperation, right? And sometimes desperation, you're forced to, you don't have a choice, So that's one thing that, for me,
That's
it
cool.
started with one book that I read or one story that I read within that book. But then I started looking for mentorship.
So it's funny you mentioning this book because, and I laughed because in September, one of my previous bosses was actually on one of our on my webinar last week, and she might be actually here as well today. But one day she just reached out to me and say, hey, there's this workshop that I'm going to tomorrow, and I have extra ticket, and it was Jack Canfield workshop.
Love that.
And I got to tell you, it was really cool. It was incredible. Again, things that I've learned from it was unbelievable, and I still implement a lot of the things from him. And by the way, just to go back to something you said, I think he said that book was rejected 144 times.
Yep. 100% out on the mark. 144 publishers said no. So if he had stopped at 100 no's, he wouldn't be this billionaire changing the world with, 500 million copies sold. So how's that for some perspective?
Well, maybe you wouldn't be where you are as well. So, and probably so many people that got impacted and daily being impacted by him. So unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
I know you have to run. So tell me if we can. There's one more question. It's a quick one, I think. Are there any podcasts that you like and recommend? So I want to say just one thing. First of all, Ricky, I think you should have your own podcast.
Thanks.
Really? That's definitely the story. But do you have anything to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So I love David Meltzer's The Playbook. I love Tom Bilyeu's Impact Theory. That's a YouTube show. It's incredible. Him and his wife, Lisa, I get to go to their house and watch this show live. It's incredible. They have impact theory. They have health theory. They have women of impact. talk about changing the world. Like literally, it's impact theory to change the world. Andy Frisella is a great podcast. His wife Emily Frisella is phenomenal as well. Heather Monahan, I actually just got into her podcast. Those are just some that are coming off the top of my head, but
That's cool. That's
definitely
cool.
Dave Meltzer's The Playbook, and then also Tom Bilyeu's Impact Theory on YouTube are phenomenal.
So I'm gonna, in the follow-up email, guys, I'm gonna put some of these links to these things so you guys can listen to. I listen to a lot of podcasts. One of them is, Tony Robbins, which, he has some cool stuff there as well that inspires. So I think it's time for us to wrap this thing. So I do have a couple of things to ask you. First of all, if you would give anybody here, say, hey, one thing that you can do today that will start that, what would you recommend?
I would literally write down the thing that pisses me off the most, and then I would convert it. And in 3 sentences, I am grateful, period, for whatever pisses you off, because, and find the seed of equivalent benefit.
That's awesome.
And I would read that every single day. Don't add to it. Read it every single day before you pick up your phone for 60 days.
That's awesome. I'm gonna put it to work. And the other thing is, if someone wants to work with you, how should they do that? I'm gonna put the link to your website here, and I'm gonna put it in the notes as well. But if you wanna tell us what would be the best way, that'd be great.
Yeah. Anyway, if you go to the website, it's real simple. It's rickymendez.com. My YouTube is Ricky Mendez Speaks. My Instagram is Ricky Mendez Speaks. Facebook's Ricky Mendez. Just send me an email. My email is ricky@rickymendez. Send me an email, send me a DM on Instagram. Any way to contact me. If you go through the website, it emails me as well. So any of those avenues are more than easy.
That's awesome. Something that just realized, you talked about a short movie, The Golden, and I missed the last word. I want to put it in
The Golden?
Yeah, there was a short movie that you said recommended to watch, The Golden something. I don't remember what it is.
Oh, it's a YouTube video, The Golden Circle.
Okay.
That's also Simon Sinek, and Simon wrote a book called Start With Why. It's along those lines, but
yeah.
It's in very, very, very short. People talk about what they do. No one's really interested in that. They want to know why you do what you do. So it's a pretty cool thing. As you start, one thing I help a lot of companies do is develop a mission statement, a vision statement, a passion line. And that guy in that video is really a big reason why I took the risk from giving up a very, very comfortable job to going into making nothing in full-fledged entrepreneurship and putting everything on the line.
That's awesome. I think one of the things that you guys can do, I'm going to post this on our website. Every day, every time that you feel like, hey, you know what, I need a boost of energy, you can listen to this webinar again, because I think that will do the trick as well. Ricky, thank you very, very much. I think actually the fact that it was early in the morning, I think you gave us, a cup of coffee of energy for the rest of the day. I appreciate you doing this again. I hope you were able to impact people. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Until next time, have an awesome day, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks, Ricky.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Bye, guys.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.